Kind of getting toward the end here, how do you feel like the kickers and punters and holders and snappers and everyone have performed this spring?
I've seen improvement as far as that stuff is concerned. It's not where we want to be. I mean, we still got to have a great summer and a great fall camp, certainly, to get the full step forward from last year that we want. But you've seen improvement. You've seen a little bit more consistency, but not to the point where we want it.
How much you're able to kind of do with them schematically or with special teams in general in the spring compared to in maybe preseason camp and during the season? Is it a little bit less because there's not a game to prepare for specifically kind of that week?
Well, you can install your basic schemes. Our big focus on the majority of spring this spring was to install our techniques, make sure that we're going to be technically sound this spring. So a lot of our kickoff return, our kickoff, our punt, and our punt return stuff, we were installing and repping out the techniques and trying to get competitive situations with those guys, going good on good, punt versus punt return, but not necessarily 11 on 11, more so controlled environments where it was competitive and good on good, but not a full field cover and not 11 on 11. So I think that we did a good job as far as developing the guys' technique and some of the new guys that were with us, getting them reps and getting them taught the techniques, and we did install scheme near the end, and that was good for us as well.
What kind of camps have Nico and AJ had so far?
Well, Nico's been up and down as far as that's concerned. He missed a couple days with just a couple bumps and bruises, but you know, he's moving into a new world for him, and really this was the first time because I got him at the end of camp, so there really was no install with him. He was just coming over and doing drill work for 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day during all of fall. So this was the first time for him to go through everything. And it's a whole different world out there. When you go from a 2-point flex every play as a receiver, as he was in high school, to being in a 3-point at times, and you're having to base block and cut off defensive ends, you're having to run split zones and counters. It's just a whole different world. So he's making progress, obviously not game ready right now, but I feel like he's going to be able to make the progress needed to be able to do that for this fall. AJ had an inconsistent spring, started off really strong and was playing good ball for him. He's healthy now, but just had a little bit of ups and downs through the mid part of spring as far as the consistency of his technique and footwork and execution.
What areas has Ethan improved in?
You see Ethan, as a veteran player, he has a better understanding of what he's doing. So I think mentally he's in a better position than he was in the fall. In the fall, you saw a guy that was running the play that was drawn up, running the route that was drawn up on the page. Now you see him setting up his routes. You see him gaining leverage on defenders. You see him separating from guys, doing some of those things, which is good. He has a better understanding of what to expect from a defender based upon what the alignments of those guys and whether the alignment of this guy might cause the defensive end to dump and things along those lines. So I think he's in a better spot mentally. Physically, you see a different guy than a year ago. He's about the same weight, but he's trimmer. He's taken off some of that body fat and put on muscle. So you see a guy that's a little bit more physically developed, which is great. And I think that's translating over to on the field. He looks faster, he looks smoother, he looks stronger.
I know you've got some guys competing at punter right now, but what does Tommy Townsend bring to that competition this summer? What are you kind of expecting from him when he gets here?
Well, I think he's a very talented guy that we're expecting to come in and very much be competing for that position right from the get-go.
What does he do best, maybe, just from his film?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good punter. He's consistent. He's got a strong leg, a great upside. So I feel that he's what you're looking for as far as a punter, and he's certainly going to be competing for that position. It's not going to be his position, but he's going to be competing for it and think that he has the capabilities to do that.
Coaches talk of moving the PAT to the 1-yard line to encourage 2-point tries, or moving it back to make it tougher.
Say that again. I missed the first part.
Of moving the PAT try to the 1-yard line to encourage 2-point tries, or moving it back maybe to the 5 to make it a little tougher because it's become so automatic. What are your thoughts on moving the PAT?
I haven't really heard much about that, to be honest with you. Moving it to the 5, I wouldn't think would have a very drastic impact upon extra points. I don't think that between the 3 and the 5 is going to make much of a difference as far as whether you make it or not. Moving it to the 1 would be interesting, that's for sure. If you move that thing to the 1, we only got to get 1 yard and you're saying you could either kick it for 1 or go for 2. That would be interesting. I would certainly think that there would be a higher percentage of people going for 2, which would make the games interesting, because now every time you score, there'd be something else on the line. So I think you'd see a much higher percentage of people going for the 2, which would change a lot of thought processes as far as, there'd be a lot more variance in the scores, I would imagine.
Yeah. What about moving it to the 10? Would that make it basically a 27-yard field goal?
Yeah, I would hope that for us that wouldn't affect us very much. I mean, you'd have to start moving that thing out to 15, 20, I would think, for the percentages to drop much. Because the ball in the middle of the field with that thing on the 10, a 27-yarder for college Division I kickers should be a chip shot. I'm not saying you're never going to miss one, but it's going to have to be a pretty big miss hit. I would think that wouldn't affect much. If you move it out to the 15 to the 20, now you'd start seeing that would be quite a bit different.